deep.
Hey viewers, what we've got, I'm doing a bit of work on Everetti's bike with him and I. It's got a serious flooding issue. Stains down the side of the airbox, all over the motor, obviously going through fuel like you wouldn't believe. So we've pulled a couple of the posts down, a couple of the bowls off. We've got a broken post on number 3, and what it's done, it's actually broken right on the pin, right on the base of the pin. So we'll go through and fix it first, and then we'll look at a couple of issues of why and how, and maybe they break and maybe ways we can get away without breaking them. So we'll pull it off if we can. So there you go. It's broken right halfway through the pin and the post itself. So the problem that we have, apart from this, is Errol's got to be on this bike in about 3/4 an hour going home. So the quickest thing that I can think of that should work is we're going to wire it up. And what we're going to do is I'm going to drill a hole through the casting for the post here, between your main float, your pin needle, and your main pin post. And we'll drill a hole through there, and we'll run the wire up and over and twist it up. So we'll quickly drill a hole. What I'm going to use a 2mm. Only reason a 1.5 or a smaller won't fit in my drill. So it's the only reason we're using a 2mm drill, and we'll just slowly drop it through the casting. Just like that, nice and light and easy. Now we'll put the pin back, the post on it, and we're just actually going to use some electrical wire. I've got 5 strands here, which should be enough. We'll just twitch them together just so it makes one piece of wire. So we don't have time to go turning something up or turning something down and making fancy bits. This bike has to be going. So this is the first thing I've come up with that should work, as well as anything else, until at least we can source another carburetor body or make something whiz bang up at a later date. So we've got our one piece of wire, copper. Fuel won't bother it. It won't bother fuel. It's not going to make any horrible chemical reactions inside your bowl that's going to affect anything, which is why we're using the copper wire. So what will happen is we'll feed this through there, come up over the top, grab it over the top of your post and do him up. Now we can't just do that, obviously, because it's going to slide off your top of your post and it's going to affect your fuel bowl, your float workings with your piece of wire in there doing that. So what we're going to do is I'll grab a hacksaw, I suppose, and we'll actually cut an indent, cut a small groove in the front of your post here, and we'll cut one in the side, in the back, and that will actually give the wire something to sit in on the top here to stop it moving around and having the hole in the bottom. Of course it's not going to go anywhere. So we'll give that a go. We're just going to put in a set of vice pliers, just very gently, so that they don't squash. You don't want to squash anything. So that should be reasonable. Drop them in the vise, so just to hold them so they don't go anywhere. Get ourselves a hacksaw, and we're just going to cut a small groove in the end, just for the wire to sit in. Same on the back. Just cut a little bit of a track over the top, just for it to give it something to sit in to make a home. So that being that, should be blow all the stuff off it before we get in there. So whether you can see that, that should be enough of a track running through it, an indent, that the wire won't slip off the top. So we'll feed it back on. Drop that on there. Get in there, you go. Like that. Set that in there. Running a wire through the and it's going to be a little bit tricky, but if we can get that over there and that over here, and we'll actually twitch it with a pair of pliers. We'll just twitch him up, maybe. There you have it. It sort of just grabs that little bit, doesn't it? There you go. Post is solid. Float moves. We'll cut that off. Hopefully these are sharp enough for this fine wire. You don't reckon anything? Alright, on we go. No, twitching off again just to make sure everything's home. And that should be there. So there is the quickest way that I can think of to have this bike up and running. So let's come off that pole. Just come loose again. A little bit of twitching, a little bit of tweaking. Get it on nice and tight, and there you have it. It'll get you out of trouble until you can find something else to get away with it. Now just quickly we'll have a bit of a look at a different couple of ways it could have happened. Under a little bit of discussion, probably the quickest way it happened is when we pop these out, somebody's got carried away with that and maybe tapping it back in, whether they've used that or whether they've used a pin, and instead of hitting your pin, they've slipped off the pin and belted your post. The other likely scenario that we've come up with is if they've been taking your nuts out and either undoing it and they've gone bang, and if you look at it, it is exactly the same height as your pin. So whether it's gone bang up like that and snapped your post clean off. So they're probably the two most likely scenarios. The way we're going to get out of your spanner, don't use your spanner, use a socket, and that clears all your carburetor body, takes all the risk out of it, and there's no problem. So we can either don't use your spanner, use a socket, and just when you're tapping your pins back in, I guess just be very, very careful as to how far and how hard you hit them, and just gently, gently, gently. So don't even start with a hammer. Well, I don't. Just always gentlest taps with the pin. So that's the quickest and easiest solution I could come up with in the time that we had to fix Ev's bike. So if it ever happens, that's one solution for you to have a go at. Righto, some time's gone past. We've got a new set of carbies in Ev's bike, But I've been thinking about this. The only thing I'd do over again, if I had to do it again, I'd move that hole from there, either probably drill it straight through that post using a smaller drill probably, which will eliminate your copper wire grabbing hold of your float. And I'd probably move how I've got the twitch up here now, I'd move it up onto the top there, whereas before we did it up down here, and it was actually grabbing. You could, when you put the float bowl over, you could actually feel it grabbing the bowl. So if I was to do it again, or for you guys that are going to have a go, I'd move the hole over, centre pop. You'd probably have to centre pop it to stop your drill sliding around your post, and use a finer drill, although it probably wouldn't matter. That's a lot of meat there. And put your twitch up on top, and that way it takes that wire off your bowl there. You've only got to move that wire that little bit, and it'll jam on your bowl and it won't move. So if you flick and it floats. So that's probably the only thing I'd do different, but that was on there for weeks. So that's about the only thing I'd do again. But hopefully helps guys that are in a bit of a spot. It's going. Righto. Turn it off.